Florence for Just Ask. Today our guest is Rochester Hearing Service. Hurry back and join us. Hi, I'm your host, Marsha Florence for Just Ask. Today, our guest is Rochester Hearing Services, and we have with us audiologist Larry Bile. Hi, Larry.
Hi, Marsha.
Glad to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Now, Larry, this is very unusual for us. We're not familiar with the services of an audiologist, and I think that our viewing and listening audience will enjoy this very much. Can you tell us something about audiology service and yourself?
Audiology tests hearing for disabilities, hearing loss. Some of them can be corrected medically, surgically. Those that can't, for hearing aids or assistive devices. And we try to help all those types of needs and losses to refer them on to physicians or to help them ourselves through rehabilitative measures.
Okay. Now, as an audiologist, when you see a patient, when they first do they mainly get referred to you, or how do you come in contact with clients?
Well, a lot of them I've seen for years. I've been doing this for 30 years, but we do have a lot of referrals from past customers, physicians, other audiologists that don't have the same facilities that I have or same services. Agencies, Michigan Jobs Commission will refer some. So we get quite a wide variety of patient sources that refer to us.
Okay. Now, does the audiologist basically do the testing, or what does the job entail as an audiologist?
Testing starts because we have to know what the hearing level is, but then we guide the customers and the patients in choosing the right rehabilitation for their particular needs. If it happens to be surgery, we can rely them on or refer them on to a physician. If they need rehabilitation as far as lip reading or auditory rehabilitation or hearing aids, assistive devices, we kind of handle that and marshal it for the individual clients.
Okay. Is there an age criteria that you all assist?
They can come in the door, we help them.
Okay, okay.
We see mainly those probably 50 and older as the bulk of our practice, but we help all ages.
Okay. Now, what would be the youngest age you can discover a hearing loss?
They actually discover hearing loss. We don't do this in our offices in the hospitals, but they discover it actually soon after they're born by doing a test called otoacoustic emission. They can measure the sounds bouncing off of the eardrum and tell if there's a good idea if there's a hearing loss, even a newborn.
Okay, okay. Well, being a hearing impaired person myself, my family didn't discover it till I was 5 years of age, and by that time I was speaking, you know, quite clear. So I often wonder, I think a lot of parents are throwback when they discover that their child has a hearing loss or profoundly deaf. Do you all have any advice or comment on those things?
I think when a child has any abnormality, a parent is devastated, but it's nice to know that there are professionals that can help them and counsel them and give them the best advice. There are even cochlear implants now that can help children that are completely deaf to receive sound. And so even though it's devastating to have a total hearing loss, there are things that can be done about it.
Okay, now the implant is the surgical implant?
Yes.
Okay, and I often wonder about that. What's the percentage rate of that? Is it 100% effective or 50-50?
It really depends on the motivation a lot of the person that gets it. Most everyone gets help to hear sounds. Now, they don't sound like they would to us, but nonetheless it's sound. It's almost like learning a foreign language again. We have some that do fantastic, some that just maybe borderline as far as the help that they get. If they've had hearing and lost it, they'll do better than if they've never had hearing.
Okay.
If they've had language and hearing, they at least know what it is.
Okay.
But it's exciting to see somebody, quote, get sounds again.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Oh.
Now, does your facility have interpreters?
No, we don't. We don't see the deaf population that much. Most of what we see are people who are hard of hearing that need some help to get back to normal conversations and as normal as they can for hearing.
Okay. I'm often concerned about people feeling embarrassed about having a hearing loss. Do you ever encounter that where people are just downright embarrassed and don't want anyone to know that they're losing their hearing?
People are people, and I think probably the baby boomers, which are really coming into their 50s now for the most part, are more open to getting help, whatever it would take in physical needs. I think some of the older folks still have a stigma to wearing hearing aids as such, but that's, I think, changing all the time too, and for the better. We wear glasses, we wear dentures, we use crutches and canes, so hearing aid is an assistive device to help us.
Right, because I notice a lot of times people buy the hearing aids through mail order.
Right.
And I myself is totally against buying a mail order hearing aid. So I think that best to be tested and find out what is properly fitting for your hearing loss.
Right.
Now, what do you do if a client comes in with this itty bitty hearing aid that he or she has brought from a magazine or has it stuck down in their ear? I mean, do you guys advise people against that, or not really against it, but what kind of recommendations do you make?
Well, I tell them that's like a dime store glasses in a way. I mean, it may help them to hear better in a certain situation. I think the negative of it is they may put that in their ear and think that's a hearing aid. That's as good as it gets. Really, that's as bad as it gets. I mean, they're just starting to hear better, but a hearing aid that's custom fit or a custom set up for a person fits their loss exactly. And the amount of power, the tones that they need help with, it will dampen the sound if it's too loud so it won't bother them. Some of them can separate sounds out from noise, speech from noise. And so those mail order ones basically are just amplifiers that make things louder.
People act like they're satisfied with just having that amount of sound. It's like, well, I did hear something, you know, and that's it.
Well, some people it's a positive because maybe they'll realize sound enhancement can help them, and then when they get over the idea that hearing aids custom made are more expensive, they'll realize at least they can help them. They'll be more motivated because they've tried something less. You know.
Now, the average person, I feel, doesn't bother to find out if their insurance company will cover the cost. Does your facility come in contact with the insurance agency as far as letting the patient know that, hey, Blue Cross Blue Shield, HAP, or whoever will pay for not only the evaluation, but the cost of the hearing aids or part of the hearing aids or anything?
A person's hearing benefits, of course, are their own benefit, but we assist them in calling their companies to see if they have the benefit. Not everyone with Blue Cross, not everyone with HAP, not everyone with Select Care, whatever, would have the same coverage. So we'll call and see what coverages they have and try to help them with that. A lot of people know what their coverages are when they come in, too, and we encourage them to do that. Check ahead of time so you'll know, so you're not blindsided. You know.
I changed my package. I mean, I've got perfect vision, so I took out vision and put in hearing.
Good.
So, you know, Blue Cross Blue Shield allowed us to pick our package. And I think that if you have that flexibility in your insurance policy, you should do that. You should call and see what it is you have versus what it is you don't want.
Right.
You know, and not to say I'm not getting older and won't lose my sight, but in the event, the hearing was the most important thing to me.
Good.
Okay.
Some people have packages where they have some dollars that are tax-free that they can spend, and they plan ahead and do that, and they're thinking of hearing in mind or vision in mind or whatever for healthcare needs. Okay.
Now, Larry, you brought a nice chart with you. Now, you want to tell us something about the inner ear?
Well, I've got a chart here. One of the things that I like to educate people on, and in my practice, I like to train people, educate them as much as anything else. And I just finished a course on the aging of the auditory system. I mentioned the baby boomers getting to the 50s. I had to write a paper on something happens after the age of 50. I'm 54, and believe me, I know it. Something happens, but something happens with our ears too. And I just thought I might point out here, I've got a nice pointer, that this is the outer ear, the ear that we think of. The pin is out here, but this is the ear canal. In most people over the age 50, wax becomes more prevalent in the ear. 65% of folks in nursing homes have impacted earwax.
Okay.
And so a lot of people can't hear because their ears are producing more wax and packing. We have a camera, we can actually look in the ear and see if there's wax there, remove it, and sometimes help them with that.
Okay.
There's a middle ear here, that the three little bones that the people hear of. As we get older, that can tend to become more stiff and not vibrate as it should. But the biggest changes really occur when we get to the inner ear And then over here where my hand is, that would be more the brain level.
Okay.
In the brain, I tell people our computer slows down. And some people might hear tones pretty good, but the computer, the brain, is not making the synapses, not making the connections as fast as it once did.
Okay.
People say, well, I can hear, I just can't understand.
Okay.
And I used to a few years ago, but I can't now. And my audiologist said that the tones are okay, but what's happening is the higher orders in the brain are slowing down. And there are things that we can do about that and help them along. It's frustrating. If a person has a hearing loss, they tend to pull back and not want to socialize and go to church or clubs or things as much. And yet we can help them to get back into society and hear better.
Okay. Now on that chart, where it says number 2, whatever, that's the outside of the ear? So
that's actually the eardrum.
The eardrum.
Yeah, the outside, this is the ear canal here, and the outer ear would be out here, that we think the pinna, or where we put our earrings, would be out here. This is the ear canal, and then we're getting to the eardrum. Okay. And on the inside of the eardrum is what we call the middle ear, and then farther in the inner ear, and then the brain.
What normally do you find is the most damaging part of the inner ear?
There's little hair cells in the inner ear. The most damaging thing to that, if you're asking, would probably be noise exposure. Okay.
Now, if such as a shotgun near the head.
Loud music,
yeah.
Loud TV, industrial noise.
Okay.
Most of the workplaces now require earplugs or ear protection. But a man may go home, or a woman may go home after work and work on power equipment or chainsaws, or the women's something in the kitchen, or the vacuum that's real noisy. And that could damage those little hair cells. And then they're not hearing as well. Is that where the ringing of the ear comes from? Where exactly does the ringing of the ear? The ringing of the ear could come from the inner ear, which is here. This is called the cochlea, or the inner ear itself, the organ of hearing, or even from the brain. It could originate from the brain also. But very often the ears will ring with noise exposure damage. And sometimes just by aging, the ears will start to ring. Very annoying to people. Okay, yeah, I used to have ringing all the time and didn't know what it was, and then it seemed like over the years it just stopped or whatever. Well, you're lucky. Yeah. A lot of people don't have that. Yeah. Keeps on. I know. Well, Larry, we're going to take a commercial break, come back, and find out some more information about audiologists. We'll be right back.
My son Jason died in a car accident on April 3rd, '95. So I thought right away about donating his organs, because about 5 months before this accident, he said to me, "Mom, if anything ever happened to me, you should donate all my organs." And I just, I had never thought of it. And I said to him, "Why?" And he says, "Because I feel like I'm still living. And I know that he's happy I did that. It makes me feel good."
Okay, I'm going to ask you about that piece right there, so we can get it. Hi, for those of you who are just now joining us at the second half of our show, we have Rochester Hearing Services, and we have audiologist Larry Bile. Larry left off with some very good information about the inner ear here. Now, Larry, you have a device on the table. Please show us that device and tell us what it does.
This is just one of the things that we can use to help people who have a hearing problem. Some people we see, they say their main problem they have is at home, that the TV has to be so loud. And that the wife or family doesn't like it. This is what we call an assistive device that they can put on. I'll just demonstrate how I would put it on like this, so it's lightweight and so forth. It will pick up an infrared signal. They can turn a volume control here as loud as they want. They can even have the TV on mute and listen to football or watch the golf or whatever, and hear it like they like and not bother the other family members. And so some people, as they get older or as they have a hearing loss, they miss out on things that a normal hearing person would have, and this would allow them to get back in the mainstream as far as enjoying things like this.
Now, I notice it has a plug. So is it battery operated and plug in, or what?
This is a battery in the unit itself. Just will power it for about 6 to 7 hours. But the unit that goes on top of the television would be like this, sending out infrared.
Okay.
What's nice is that many theaters, Fisher Theater for one in Detroit and Whiting Auditorium in Flint, many of them, broadcast infrared signal. So they could bring their unit from home and pick up the PA system from those places without difficulty and really enjoy it. So this is just one of many assistive devices to help people who have a hearing loss to get back into full enjoyment
nice.
of their activities.
Nice. I've used those at the Fisher Theater, and I was very impressed with it, and must say hats off to the Fisher Theater because they had those things there, and I found them very useful. And I think also I was at a movie theater and I had it set on, and I was laughing so loud, and you know, it was like, shh, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm only laughing enough to me, but actually I was laughing pretty loud there. So that device is very helpful.
Oh, even a person with normal hearing would hear better with one of those because it's directly to their PA system.
So I noticed you said you can actually put the TV on mute.
Yes.
And still pick up?
You can still pick up because it plugs into the output of the back of the TV set or the VCR, and this picks it up from there. So the TV could be on mute for everybody else in the house, and you could hear it just as loud as you wanted to.
Now, is that device semi-expensive, or?
It's about around $200.
Okay.
There are some that are less quality for less, but it's good to get a good one.
Insurance company, would they help pay for that?
They don't.
Okay.
No, they don't.
Okay. Well, you know, for good stuff, you have to give up the bucks for it.
Right.
So.
For quality of life is really,
yeah.
really enhanced.
Yep. That's very nice and everything. Now, we have some interesting brochures here. What is the digital hearing aid device? What is that?
A digital hearing aid is a hearing aid that actually has a computer inside of it. As I mentioned before, as the brain gets older and slows down its processing, we never like to hear that, but it happens to all of us. And as the brain slows down, it has more and more difficulty detecting noise from speech or speech from noise.
Okay.
What a digital hearing aid will do is separate the sounds and actually analyze them and subtract the noise and advance the speech. That particular one, the Siemens Signia, also is the only one with artificial intelligence. Not only does it reduce the background noise, but it also analyzes where the S's are and the T's are and the SH's and gives them a boost in a moment's time. So it's amazing technology.
So is this the newest hearing aid on the market?
There are several companies that have digital products. That is one of the top ones, I believe.
Okay. Okay. So I know what to ask my doctor for. Okay,
Nice.
Okay, now the digital progress significantly enhanced the quality of hearing. This is a pretty big book here. What's in here?
That's another company, Phonak. They for years made hearing aids for children that were deaf, and they're kind of known for that and for FM systems, but that is their digital hearing aid. What that is different from the Siemens is that one can automatically switch. If you're in a noisy restaurant, it can switch to focus in on your person you're talking to. Therefore, the sound from behind you and beside you is really reduced.
Right.
So it helps a person to hear in every situation without pushing a button or without doing something themselves.
But can a patient ask the doctor to have a device that does a little bit of both? I mean, if one can take away background noises and distortion and stuff like that, shouldn't that be something that's across the board in all hearing aids, or is that something you have to find out that you may need and then tell the doctor, hey, I really like to have this piece?
Well, technology, the best technology a person can get, they're sure going to benefit from them, but unfortunately things cost more money the more advanced they become too. Most insurances companies don't cover the full cost yet of digital hearing aids.
Okay.
Even though people benefit better from them, they still do cost more.
Right. Okay, I mean, you know, I'm looking at it like with the modern technology and as advanced as we've come, within reason these prices should be, as well as, you know, it used to be a time you had your hearing aids connected to your glasses and you had a little patch in your pocket or you had the pipe in your ear.
Right.
We've come a long way. We've
Right.
come quite a way. So it seems like some of these devices, the doctors can make the recommendation to the insurance company and bam, you know.
Yeah, well, I wish that would be the case, and someday we may see that it is. But a person, for most insurance companies, can still get them. They just have to pay a little copay with it to get one. But the technology for most people is worth the difference.
Okay. What is your viewpoint on people who wear one hearing aid versus two?
If you have hearing loss in both ears, you'd really benefit from having both ears being helped. We used to think an ear was an ear. Good Lord gave us two of them. If something happened to one, we had a spare. And I used to think that, but as education goes on, we realize that the two ears really work in separate ways to give us a total package of hearing. They can tell direction of sound. If you only wear one, things going to seem like it's always coming from that side. If you wear two, you hear farther away, better distances across the room. And even a noise. People think, boy, if one is noisy, two are double noisy. But really, the second one, the brain uses it and takes the information from one side, subtracts that noise from the other side through what we call the cochlear microphonics, and really helps us to hear better in difficult places.
Okay.
And 2 ears are for a reason, and they really help if a person can do that.
Well, I've always worn a bicross set of hearing aids, which the bicross means transmitter to receiver. So if you talk to me on the right side, which is the ear that I don't hear in, the sound transmits to the left side, so I can pick up the conversation.
Yes.
And that can help. It can help. Now, what I find a little bit difficult, though, is determining where it's coming from.
Right.
You
You
know,
just have the one ear that's actually hearing.
Right, and that ear picks up so much that it's sometimes in question, is it the aid that's working or is it just me that's working?
Right.
You know, and I'm fond of closed caption television. I'm very much fond of closed caption. The only drawback I have with closed caption is that sometimes they make grammatical errors. Okay, so everybody's not perfect.
Though.
Right, everybody's not perfect, but it does help to have that.
Oh, sure,
you know,
the visual clue.
And so hats off to all the creators of such devices that, you know, to help us come a long way.
Everything helps.
Right. So now, overall, when a person comes to your office with an appointment and they say, I think I have a hearing loss, there's a series of tests that they take. Which is the first test that, you know, you normally, is that the sound pitch test?
Well, yes, but in a way, the interview itself, even calling them from the waiting room, it's, in my mind, is a test because I see how they respond. Did they hear me when I called? Did they, you know, realize that it was their name, or did they have to look at me to see someone was there? So we start to get an idea of a person's need before we even put earphones on. But then we will actually look in the ear with what we call a video otoscope, so we can look in the ear and a camera. They can see what the ear looks like inside, see what the eardrum looks like. We can clean wax out if need be, or refer them to a physician if they've had surgery before. And then we test them with tones, we test them with speech to see just how they communicate. And if they're in need of help surgically, we'll refer them on to a physician. If they're in need for a hearing aid or assistive devices like we showed here, we can supply that or guide them to the best decision. Our motto or our working statement, mission statement, is that we want to guide people to the best decision to improve their quality of life. We can't make them have a better quality of life. We haven't helped them.
Okay. Well, now I was informed that there is a ear donor program. Is there such an ear donor program? Yes.
People don't think of, they think of donating their organs to science. So we're talking about when a person is deceased and passes on. But if people would consider donating their temporal bones, that's the ear bone, to science upon their death, and they could write it on the back of their license like they do other organs. What that can do is that can give researchers, scientists, an idea of really even more what happens in the aging process. And then future generations may not find the difficulty that past generations do with the aging ear and hearing losses.
Now, when you say a person can donate their, what is it called?
Temporal bone is actually the ear bone.
Okay, is that on the chart? That part?
Well, the ear is like a tunnel. We think of the eardrum, we think of the external ear, but that's really not much. The ear is part of the head bone. So we can't take the ear out like we could a heart. We can't take the ear out like we could a lung or a kidney. It's part of our head. But the bones still give us invaluable research information.
Now, when a person wants to make such a donation, would that be on the back of their license too, or that's something they would just automatically put in their will?
They would probably do both, but usually to have a donated organ, they want to get it soon after a person passes. So I would suggest on the back of their license, and let family members know also. Research is so valuable for future generations.
That's a unique one. I wasn't familiar with that.
Most people have not heard of that.
So there's no PSAs, no public service announcements?
No, not that I've seen. But
they probably should do that, though, because that is something to consider, you know, along with other organs that people want to do and give all the time. This would help with science.
Oh, sure will. The more we know, the more we can help future generations.
You're right about that, and I'm glad you said that, because you know, as we're aging ourselves, my physician said you lose your equilibrium. I had a question about equilibrium. What is the deal on losing the equilibrium as you progress in the hearing loss?
Well, if I can maybe grab this chart again here. The ear is two parts, and we've concentrated quite a bit on the hearing portion, but the other portion of the inner ear is the balance mechanism, and that would be these semicircular canals here, and the little bulbs on the bottom called the utricle and saccule. And there are the parts of the ear that tell us where we are. If we're standing up, even with our eyes closed, we know where we are. If we turn around in circles, the inner ear tells us that we're turning.
Okay.
That's what we like to stimulate on a carnival ride, to kind of fool our body, you know, and make us dizzy, you know, for entertainment.
Okay.
But that's the only time we want it.
Okay, so when we stop playing with the rides,
that's right.
Along down the line, you're going to start wobbling a little bit anyway. Oh, right. Okay. I was wondering about that because I'm thinking that maybe the only time you lose your equilibrium is if you're sick, or like you said, if you're on a fast ride or something like that. No,
as another thing, as we age, even the membranes get stiffer and don't transmit the information as they did when we were younger. And many older folks, they'll stand up and have to take just a few moments till they can get their equilibrium, and then they can motivate on. And they can't do any fast movements. And that's just a natural process that happens, but something they have to cope with.
Okay. But the average person with a hearing loss do lose their equilibrium?
No, they are separate. They're together but separate.
Okay.
So you don't have to have a hearing loss to have a balance problem, or vice versa. But they can be together too, but usually they're separate.
Okay. Should we look forward towards any future research so that the next generation would have it a little easier than before?
There's exciting research going on. Yale University has one that I recently read about. They are developing artificial speech, which means a person with a hearing loss may have just a narrow area of hearing left. Let's say if you had a piano and you take most of the strings off, except for just a few. They're able to make artificial speech now in just a narrow area of responding hair cells. Okay. And so future generations with severe hearing loss might be able to hear better and understand speech because it has been processed down to those minute parts of the hearing they have left.
Okay, well, that's some nice research there.
It's exciting.
Yes, very much. Well, Larry Bile, I want to thank you so much for coming out and joining us here at Just Ask and giving us this very informative information. We've been doing quite a few shows on hearing loss lately, and we had never thought about having a person tell us about the inner ear. So we want to thank you, and we'll be soon calling Mr. Larry Bile, Dr. Larry Bile, okay? So anyone who's interested in contacting Mr. Bile, please give us a call here at the Just Ask line, and we'll refer him to you. Our number is 248-988-0250. As usual, I always tell anyone, if you have any questions, comments, write us, call us, whatever. This show is dedicated to and for persons with disabilities, as well as elderly nature and the general public. So we're here to serve you. Please give us a call or drop a line to us and let us know what you'd like to hear or see in the future. We'd like to thank you very much for coming. Please come back and join us again, okay? I'm your host, Marcia Florence, for Just Ask, and as I always say, if you know someone with a disability, don't be afraid to ask, just ask. I'm your host. Thank you.
Share your decision to become an organ and tissue donor with your family today. For a free brochure on organ and tissue donation, call 1-800-355-SHARE.